Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Dania and today's topic focuses on the differences between across and through. So I will be explaining the differences between them using examples with explanations to help you understand everything perfectly and easily. Alright, so let's start. Let's have a look at the following examples. Number 1. She walked across the street. Across the street. And the second sentence, she walked through the tunnel. Through the tunnel. Are there any differences between these two sentences? Well, the answer is yes. How? Let's have a look. If we look at the first sentence, she walked across the street. What does that mean? You need to use this preposition when you walk from one side to the other, like from one point to the other, without going into different directions. She walked through the tunnel. Why are we using through? Because the tunnel is inside of something. So when the place is inside of something and it is not open, it's not an open area, in this case we need to use through. Now what do we need to do is that we need to look at plenty of examples with their explanations to help you understand the differences between them easily, and then we will go through some sentences using across and through to help you see the differences quite clearly. Alright, let's have a look. Example number 1. She swam across the river to reach the other side. Across the river. So with the use of across, we are speaking about the fact that she swam from one side to the other side without any problems, and also the area was open, maybe everything was clear, she did not face any obstacles, and in this case we use across. But you can use through if she encountered or if she faced with some obstacles, like maybe in the river there were a lot of trees, maybe a lot of maybe stones, maybe some rocks, things like that, or maybe she had to swim from one way to the other. In this case we use through. But if everything was smooth, for like using one way from one side to the other side, we use across. Okay, now let's have a look at another example. The car drove through the tunnel in the mountain. Through the tunnel. So why are we using through? Because of the tunnel. The tunnel is somewhere inside the mountain, and in this case the tunnel is basically covered, it is not facing the sky, so everything is closed, and that is why we are using through. This is number 1. Number 2, probably the tunnel wasn't like smooth, maybe it was twisting from one side to the other side, and maybe like was facing the mountains, was facing a lot of like natural resources, things like that, and that is why we need to use through the tunnel. He hiked through the forest, following the trail to the campsite. Through the forest. Now you might be wondering, like, why are we using through with the forest when the forest is an open area? Because the forest might not be smooth, it might have a lot of ways, a lot of paths. So because the thing is that he was following the trail to the campsite, that means it wasn't easy to reach the campsite. He had to go through a lot of paths, maybe going right, left, straight, and he had to go back again and then start all over, things like that. So when you are faced with some obstacles on the way, we need to use through something. But in here, he walked across the bridge. Why are we using across? because the bridge is open. This is number one. Number two, like there are just two sides of the bridge going and coming, like it's kind of like starting using one way to the other. That is why we are using across the bridge. The cat ran across the field chasing after the butterfly. Why are we using across? Because the field is an open area. Another thing, the cat wasn't going through like different paths. Everything was easy for the cat. Basically, it was just chasing over the butterfly in one way. But if we use through, like through the field, in this case, probably the cat experienced maybe some difficulties, some obstacles during the chasing process. So this is the overall idea. The bird flew across the sky searching for food. Flew across. So what does that mean? It means that the bird was just flying without facing any obstacles, because obviously in the sky there won't be any obstacles, like there won't be any difficulties. So the flying process happens smoothly, and that is why we use across. But imagine if the bird flies maybe between the trees. Let's say there have been like long trees and the bird flying between them. In this case, we can say through the trees. All right, so this is how you can use across and through in sentences. If you still have questions regarding what I have just explained, please let me know in the comments below. As for now, we will be looking at same sentences using across and through to see how it is possible to use these two different types of prepositions for the same sentence. Let's have a look. She walked across the park to visit her friend. And the second one, she walked through the park to visit her friend. Both of these sentences are the same. We are speaking about someone who walked to visit a friend. But with the first one, we are using across, and the second one, we are using through. What are the differences between the two? With the first one, she walked across the park. That means the way to go to her friend was really easy. It was basically straightforward, like from one road or from one part of the way to the other part. It's like from one side to the other side without any obstacles. But with the second one, with the use of through the park, that doesn't mean she went from one side to the other, but maybe she went to the park, and from the park she went maybe inside of a building, and maybe from the building she used another path. It's something like that. So the way wasn't straightforward. It was like maybe she went like from one way to the other. Maybe she used different ways to visit her friend, and that is why we are using through. That means the park was the main way to visit her friend. Through the park, maybe she used different other paths, something like that. So that is why we are using through the park. All right, let's have a look at another one. He ran across the field to catch the ball. And the second one, he ran through the field to catch the ball. What are the differences between the two? If we look at the first one, he ran across the field. That means he was running from one point to the other point without going right and left, like he was going from one position to the other position. But with the second one, he ran through the field. That means he must have been running all over the field, maybe going right, left, going through the trees, maybe like jumping from one area to the other, things like that. In this case, we need to use through. Let's have a look at another example. He drove across the town to get to the store. And the second one, he drove through the town to get to the store. What are the differences between the two? If you look at the first one, across the town, that means going to the store was not difficult at all. He simply had to drive from one side to the other side. That's it. But with the second one, he drove through the town. That means maybe he faced with some traffic lights, maybe he had to go through, maybe he had to pass by some streets, maybe the area was too crowded, maybe it was too narrow, things like that. So it was kind of difficult or maybe challenging for this person to reach to the store. Why? Because of the roads, maybe because of the way that he used to go to the store, things like that. So this is how you can use these two different types of prepositions in sentences. The only thing that you need to remember is that with the use of across, you are talking about going or moving or walking or maybe like driving from one area, from one point to the other point. That's it, like moving from one point to the other. But with the use of through, you are not going from one area to the other smoothly. It is like you are maybe facing some obstacles, maybe going right, left, straight, and after that like going in different positions to reach the point, something like that. Also, another difference between across and through is about the area. If the area is open, like if there is like an open area where you are just going from one point to the other point, you can use across. But if the area is closed, it's like if the area is inside of something else, in this case we need to use through. Like for example, the bridge. If you are going through the bridge, maybe the bridge is connected to buildings. In this case we need to use through. That means we are using or maybe we are going to building B through building A. Alright, so things like that. I really hope the differences between these two prepositions are easy to understand. If not, please let me know in the comments below. Ask your questions if you have any. So I will either respond immediately to your questions or I will create another video to answer your questions with more examples and detailed explanations. Also, if you have other grammar topics, or maybe if you want me to speak about other topics like maybe motivational topics, maybe things related to exams, studying tips, things like that, alright? Feel free to let me know. So in this case, I would like to thank you so much for joining today's English Grammar podcast. And so I will be looking forward to having you on the upcoming video as well. Please be sure to join the upcoming video, which will be uploaded hopefully in 3 days from now. So in this case, I wish you a wonderful day and take care. Bye bye.